Greetings and welcome to the lecture, Social Work in Schools. This is Chapter 7 in the first edition of the Mary Ann Suppes text. When we look at the need for social services in the school, we can trace the history back to 1906 to the Settlement House social worker, which visits schools in New York City. And when a social worker goes into school, they're looking for those who are in need, and oftentimes the teachers or school counselors will look for those who are having signs of abuse or neglect, and the social worker will help to meet the needs of the child and the family. In 1913, school boards hired social workers to work with communities and schools. And 1921, National Committee of Visiting Teachers is established. And then 1920, social worker focused on the individual children to improve mental health and reduce delinquency. By the 1930s, social workers were distributing food and finding food, shelter, and clothing. In Houston and the Harris County area, we have what's called KAIS workers, Community Youth Services, and those are the workers who coordinate services for the school districts in the areas where they are servicing. So they are meant as a in-between person. They're meant to work to help collaborating with local community needs and services and getting everything coordinated. From the 40s to 50s, social workers used casework approaches with a clinical orientation. Social workers began to do more counseling and clinical work. By 1949, F. Poole fought for the rights of children to a public education. 1964, Head Start was established, which is a program for parents to put their children in preschool. And to help with services for those who can't afford it. 65, Elementary and Secondary Education Act improves opportunities for disadvantaged children. By 1975, special education included social workers as part of the intervention team to work with those who have special needs in the school setting. 1976, NASW developed standards for school work and the social work in the schools. 1980s, the IDEA policy focuses on students' right, cultural diversity, parent involvement, and community partnerships. By 1997, the IEP is established and in amendments to the IDEA. Social workers are responsible to ensure that plans are implemented to meet students' goals, and this is where you're going to see the most impact of social workers is working in coordination with teachers, principals, PTA, and also school counselors. In 2002, the NCLB set standards for school achievement and mechanisms to measure outcomes. And so a school social worker, what are their real roles? Their roles are to counsel the individual children, to work as a clinical liaison between the school counselor and the teacher, liaison between the school and the family, home visits. They're going to be coordinating food, clothing, and other types of services. They're going to facilitate student, teacher, or parent groups, help to develop PTA organizations and such in the community, and develop partnerships between schools and communities. They'll support the educational process and advocate for a full-service school approach, looking for those areas where there may be needs that need to be met, and then looking for ways to fill those needs. School social worker and diversity, they're going to work with children and families where English is not their first language, or ESOL, to help to make sure that parents are given the opportunity for an interpreter or for someone to explain to them the processes. The bilingual model, take classes in native language as well as English. And then sheltered English immersion, SEI, immersion in classes taught in English with minimal education in the native language. SEI is not effective at moving students with ESL to mainstream grade level. It's best for there to be a bilingual approach for these students to be able to slowly adapt to the new language. School social worker must be culturally competent and be aware of the different type of cultural or demographical constraints that may come with the student. When it comes to special education, federal funds allocated for federal special education policy are inadequate to meet special education needs. Many times, social workers are part of a team that evaluates speech and language needs, physical and learning disabilities, developmental delays, and emotional and behavioral health challenges. You've got a certification for teachers who want to teach in special education, and then you also have the school counselors that work with the social worker. But in many cases, it's going to be a clinical person who's going to go in and do the evaluations to find out the level of functioning, both health, mental health, emotional, as well as educational level of functioning for the students. Social workers also work with families of infants and toddlers who have developmental challenges. A primary challenge for social worker is obtaining parent consent for services and involving parents in the process. Many times parents will not be as open or as upfront with the admitting that their child may have some type of developmental need, and that's a challenge for the social worker to help to reduce the stigma from a label with a mental health disorder like ADHD or any other type of Asperger's or any other type of mental health disorder there may be. So it's going to be up to the social worker to help to get the parents to see and to learn and to become empowered with what is going on with the child's learning disability. Implementing social work values in the school setting. It's important to understand that social work values guide approaches that social workers take in practice with children, families, and communities. The value of autonomy, beneficence, the welfare and the well-being for all students is going to be what the social worker takes into the school setting. Social workers are committed to empowering clients, resulting in challenges to policy that do not respect the rights and dignity of all. Controversial issues include teen pregnancy, homosexuality, ESL, English as a second language, substance abuse, and punishment. One key factor here to keep in mind about is the fact that there's been a wave of change over the past 30 years where there are actually daycare facilities for students who have children or who are pregnant, where they have special classes to help the teen mother to go through their pregnancy, continue in school so that they aren't, to reduce the dropout rates, and then to help them through the entire process of child rearing. Some challenges for school social workers: school safety. Social workers facilitate conflict resolution and peer mentoring programs to monitor signs of potential school violence. They're going to be aware of what is active and on in the community as far as any gang relations or any major relevant waves of change, such as what we see with different types of bullying and different types of changes that are going on as far as trying to reduce bullying and even cyber stalking and things like that. Teen pregnancy, like I talked about, social workers encourage women to finish their education, facilitate in-school services to support this goal. Poverty, social workers advocate for disadvantaged children and fight against policies that further limit their opportunities for success, such as NCLB and TANF, and those other type of support services that may be state or government programs that are there available. School lunches is a big program that helps a lot of families where there may be an inability for the family to pay for or send the child to school with lunch. Many times school lunch programs is the only time that these children are receiving a nutritional meal, a full warm meal for the day. Personal empowerment. Social workers assist students to manage their emotional and physiological responses to stress and also to become more contemplative And then other challenges and trends in social work. It's increasingly diverse students. There's an increase in the ability for social workers to work with multiple ethnicities, language, sexual orientation, and educational needs. The resource gaps, increasing partnership with community and volunteer groups for funding and services to help find grants and other monies that would be available to help with programs in schools. Summer school, increased opportunities. Excuse me. Increased opportunities for social workers to work year-round. And then gender-specific needs. Girls are more greatly impacted by poverty, abuse, and community problems than by boys. Single-sex schools may be viable alternatives. And then special needs. Social workers need to better understand how home and community environments impact learning and development. And with the faith-based initiative by President George Bush, you saw a lot of programs that were coming around. And the type of programs that you had were designed to help with charter schools, voucher programs, and things like that. And that's going to be relevant with the current election term platforms as well. This concludes this lecture. I'll see you in the next one.